And welcome to the Country Telegraph. It's our first show on its own standalone and that sort of thing. So it's we're just we're learning as we go, some would say, but working very well too now. So thank you for your patience. Got a great lineup. We're going to be talking about the Middle East and the oil supplies, how it will affect those on the land. But first of all, just having a quick look at what's happening with the news around Australia. And Matt Canavan has become the first senator to lead the federal Nationals after defeating Bridget McKenzie and Kevin Hogan following David Littleproud's emotional and shock resignation yesterday. The conflict in the Middle East has hit home for WA's agricultural industry as diesel prices skyrocket and farmers begin stockpiling supplies amid of a fear of fuel shortages ahead of the seeding season. Also, the diesel supply squeeze is threatening to delay mustering and shearing at Mount Eba Station, one of South Australia's largest pastoral properties. And Tas farmers, while on the subject of oil and fuel, has warned without fuel, there is no food, calling on governments to guarantee diesel supplies for agriculture and freight as global tensions push fuel prices sharply higher. And finally, Australia's cotton industry will come together on the Gold Coast this year for its flagship event for the 2026 Australian Cotton Conference. Next up, we'll have Rex. The crisis in the Gulf is escalating, and after brief hopes that the Straits may allow some traffic, this looks unlikely. Fuel prices are just going up and up and up, and there are serious concerns about the availability of diesel, which runs everything from farm production to food distribution. Of course, it's not the only fuel that is a problem. Fertiliser, chemicals, the list just goes on. Australia and the whole of the global economy will be very badly affected. Our guest knows a lot about this. He knows how government works because our fuel, the government does not appear concerned. They have indicated there is no supply issue with a month's supply available. Give or take, are they joking? Think about it. The entire country is hinging on the action of our government, and they are so inactive, to say the least. Former Senator Rex Patrick joins us today to tell us what the government's emergency response is, zilch just about, and whether we do in fact have a plan for this crisis. Rex Patrick was known as the transparency warrior during his time in the federal parliament. He's made extensive use of FOIs in the federal domain and made many necessary reviews to obtain information that is our right in a democracy. And his website is transparencywarrior.com.au. Rex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
Tell me, it's a very serious problem. I see the government, being in the bush, you'd say, sitting on their fat backsides and not doing a whole lot, letting the market dictate. Tell us the reality of what's happening, Rex.
All right, I might just start off, and I don't want to be alarmist, but I think people do need to be a little bit concerned. If we don't have fuel supplies, and particularly diesel, which runs most of our logistic chains, then what we find is that we will have supermarkets running out of food, typically between 7 and 10 days. We'll also have hospitals run out of medicine around about 3 days when you don't have fuel. Now, so it's a very serious thing if we do lose access to our fuel supplies if they are disrupted. Uh, Now, Australia has got some reserves, but not enough. We are supposed to, by international agreement, along with many other countries, have 90 days. And in reality, we have in country about 25 days of diesel fuel. Now, you may have heard some people claiming 34 days. When Barnaby Joyce asked that question in the Parliament last week, Chris Bowen conceded that 34 days includes some fuel that is on its way to Australia. So possession is 9/10 of the law. The government normally reports simply what we have here in stock, so around about 25 days. Again, to make everyone feel comfortable, the minister told the Parliament yesterday that since the crisis started, just over a week ago, we have continued to maintain supplies coming into Australia, which simply means that 25 days is sitting there and has not been affected. And what we're seeing is in terms of shortages, is that people are binge buying. They're trying to buy to avoid potentially higher prices, and that is what has caused some of the shortages around Australia. So not so much supplies coming to Australia, but increased demand right across Australia. Now, the government does have a plan. It's called the National Liquid Fuel Emergency Response Plan, and I spent a considerable effort making sure that this document was public. The government resisted, spent about $150,000 in legal fees fighting me, but the Administrative Review Tribunal said it's in the public interest that this document is in the public domain, so people can read at home and look and see exactly what's going on. And that is available at Michael West Media, where I've published that. In your intro, you sort of said the government's not really doing anything. That's not strictly true. There are some things happening which actually indicate that the plan is in play. So we've seen the minister announce that he's directed or the treasurer has announced that he has directed the ACCC to start looking at fuel prices, making sure there's no gouging that's taking place by the providers of fuel. We've also seen NOSEC, which is the National Oil Security Emergency Committee, has met 3 times in the last week. We've also seen minimum stock holding obligations go from quarterly reporting now down to weekly reporting. And the government has started calming messages. And that's what you're seeing when the government looks like it's doing nothing. It's actually trying to calm the public down. We have a situation where, for example, fuel prices going up is actually a mechanism that the government doesn't mind because it helps to reduce demand. We'll see some people looking at that price and saying, well, I'm not going to go on that long weekend. Maybe I'll start carpooling, all of those sorts of things. So, look, the plan is in play. The government is doing something, just not really being open about what it's doing.
Tell me, if the crisis continues, like it might, because what's coming out of the Middle East is that Iran is plonking, they've got like 2,000 to 6,000 mines. If it continues, and just say, for example, it goes for another, just say 3 weeks, where does it place then Australia? Looking at those on the land that need diesel, it's pretty critical. Actually, every day is critical for those on the land. But at the moment, they really need diesel. To do their job on the land, and 2, to make sure that the product gets to market.
Well, one of the things that's happening internationally is the International Energy Agency is responsible for, in some sense, managing the 90 days the 90-day reserves in other countries. So the IEA met last night, and I understand is planning to release significant fuel reserves around the country. People might remember when COVID was on, Angus Taylor bought about $90 million of fuel. We plonked it in the US Strategic Reserve in Texas. That was actually sold when the Ukraine war started because the IEA said to Australia, can you please release that fuel to help with demand? So there will be actions internationally. And again, so there's a response that is in play that's taking place right now. It's just a situation, and I think a lot of the people hoarding fuel is a case that we only have 25 days. If we had 90 days, I think everyone would be feeling a lot more relaxed. So there are plans in place, both internationally, and there are processes in place here in Australia that will help to deal with this. But um, if this does run for a long period of time, we are actually mostly reliant on overseas countries and companies, and that's not security. You need to have a sovereign capability, and we've neglected our 90-day fuel security requirement for a long, long time. We see ourselves spending $10 billion, $5 billion each on US and UK shipyards for the AUKUS submarine program. We simply haven't invested in having enough fuel stock here in Australia to deal with any possible conflict. You can see it doesn't. There's no requirement that Australia get involved in a conflict in order for there to be a fuel security problem. Any conflict can, and we've got a situation where we've gone from a Israel, US, Iranian war to a more regional conflict. The Straits of Hormuz is shut. We still have some issues in Ukraine. We have sanctions in terms of Russia, in terms of buying oil. We really don't want anything else to happen. And as this conflict goes on for longer, there will be sort of longer concerns or more concern because we can only release that 90-day fuel reserves around the globe on really one occasion.
And I can see also if it keeps going and fuel becomes a little more scarce, you've got to feel for the guy on the land because they need fuel. What does the government do if the guy says, I need to fill up, and the supplier says, nothing left? What does the government do to alleviate that? What that leads to is a food supply problem, and it does threaten that very much. How do we get around that?
Okay, so as fuel starts to become short in some places, actually state governments can act first and should properly act first. And then only when there is a national shortage does the government have the power to step in. And at that point, they really can take control. They can start controlling who gets the fuel: defence, police, emergency services, hospitals, and then we walk our way back through to make sure that we do have food supply chains, medical supply chains, and so forth. We're a bit away from that, and hopefully we will continue to have reliable fuel coming to our shores. But again, we have been neglectful in our efforts to deal with fuel security over successive governments. I don't blame Labor. I don't blame the coalition. Both of those major parties have ignored this problem for a considerable period of time.
Yeah, I would thoroughly agree. Where do you in a gut feel, because you know this pretty well, you know how politics work, and you know enough to a little more than the average Aussie. Where do you see it heading?
Yeah, look, I've seen over the last couple of days. It started last week. Barnaby Joyce asked questions, so too did Jackie Lambie and One Nation. So it started actually with the independent smaller parties, and then the major party, the Liberal Party of the coalition, have caught on, and they're now asking questions. Yesterday, there was a debate in the Senate. So basically, what's happened is that the issue has risen to a point where the Parliament is now talking about it. And again, politics is about pressure. It's about making sure that the government's open, transparent in relation to the response that it has. Again, we really just have to hope that we can continue to maintain supplies. Not all of our fuel comes from the Middle East, and that's a good thing. But again, to just add a caution, there have been some people saying, well, we get our fuel from Singapore, from Korea, and from Japan. Note to people, they get their fuel from, or at least some of it, from the Middle East. So we are in a period where we need to be cautious. And the plan, I am absolutely quite convinced. I'm making the call. It has been enacted because we can see some of the things that are being done are in accordance with the plan. They just haven't told anyone formally that that's the case. Look, we might. The next thing we might see is some messaging, further messaging coming from the government, talking about things like carpooling, odds and even license plates, or fuel caps. And I just hope when that happens that there's flexibility. We're recognising that farmers perhaps have a greater requirement for diesel than, say, people on the week wanting to enjoy their weekend. So we'll see more of this play out. The conflict is not going to end immediately. And we just have to make sure that the government is doing sensible, is responding sensibly. And again, that's a role for our parliament and indeed for the media.
Mm-hmm. Only time will tell. I don't feel great. I probably need a whiskey later on to get those brain cells working. But whatever happens, we are reliant on the government, and we do understand that those on the land do need fuel. Otherwise, we have yet another headache to worry about. Rex, if somebody wants to find out more about you, how do they do that?
Well, people can go to my website, but actually, probably the best source in terms of particularly around issues of fuel security is simply to go to Michael West Media. I've written several articles on this, including articles about what happens when fuel supplies are depleted, but also what the plan is. And in the last day or so, Michael West has now published the National Liquid Fuel Emergency Response Plan, so that your viewers can download that and sit at home and follow it from their lounge room seat. So again, one of my roles, I see one of the critical roles that I have is to try and get government information out to people, because government's always shy about communicating. I never really understand why, but the information is available on Michael West Media.
Rex, thank you for joining us on our first show, and thanks for waiting too. A slight hiccup. Had to put 20 cents into the meter. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. This is the Country Telegraph, and coming up next, we'll talk sheep. And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. There's been much disquiet in Victoria about the fast racking and fast tracking of huge renewable energy projects and its impact on rural communities and the environment. The need to construct transmission towers on private land has understandably raised an outcry. With no ability to reach a compromise with landowners, the Vic government recently passed new compulsory land acquisition amendments. This means transmission companies can acquire private land for renewable energy projects before an environmental effects statement is completed, which, if you think about it, is terrible. Farmers Fight Back chairman and Manu farmer Ben Duxon, who had been vocal about the transmission line project, was one of many who had blocked access to transmission workers wanting to enter his property. Duxon is a proprietor. Ben Duxon, is a proprietor of Glendmar Multi-Purpose Merinos. He is the fifth generation of his family to breed merinos at Manu in Victoria's Wimmera region. Ben, thanks for joining me. How serious is the issue?
It doesn't look good. We've been in this fight for over 3 years now, Mike, and basically the laws keep getting changed as we keep pushing back. So we'd take it as a backhanded compliment that they've got to keep changing the laws for us, but it just means that we certainly won't stand down. And as you said, I mean, how can they possibly actually compulsory acquire an easement before they've done the EES? They've obviously got their line, and the EES doesn't even matter. So getting right off track of where they need to go and how they need to go about this, it's really unravelling this energy plan that they're doing. And we're just here to hold our end up and make sure that we stand up for every energy consumer in Australia. We know that this project is not in the right place or the right time, and seriously can't work. So it's always been a hard no from us, and we need to get back and get an energy policy that's going to last us 100, 200 years when we're in an energy-rich country as well. And it's not cutting swathes through farming land is not the answer.
What does the legislation do to you just personally? How does it affect your land?
Yeah, so it's coming through our land to the south of us, but it's also just to the north and the east of us, about 700 metres. And anyone in the regions would know that that's where fires start. So a 700 metre from the north to the west, that's where it's going to start. So I've got no chance to defend my farm if a fire does start. That's number one. And then just their whole bullying tactics in trying to think that this is going to happen and we can just take your land. I don't know anywhere else in the world that a government would go hold a gun to a farmer's head and say, we're going to take your land no matter what. This is really scary stuff of what they're actually prepared to do. And city people have got to understand that they could do exactly the same thing to them down in the city as well. So where do they stop? And that's what our whole principle is it's a hard no, this doesn't work, and we need to make sure that we do get an energy policy that's going to suit Australia into the future.
What was the attitude of the Vic government towards not only yourself but to the rest of the rural community?
Quite contempt, actually. Just saying suck it and take it, and they keep saying it's a critical project, but we know it's not a critical project because we can't actually power our whole country on renewables, and then the net zero target is the problem here. We keep going back to net zero and trying to make that work. It doesn't work anywhere else in the world, and it certainly doesn't work here in Australia, and certainly not out here in our hot arid country as well. So they've got this completely wrong. Our job is just to keep fighting, and we'll be at the farm gate as you mentioned. We've started the Farmers Fight Back campaign. So about 5 weeks ago we started that pretty soft launch, and we've got over 16,000 supporters up to now. So it's going really well. People are incensed that actually the government can try and do this to farmers. There's a lot of support in the cities for the farmers out there.
So what happens? They decide to plonk some large towers on your land. You're at the gate. Do you say come in, or do you? Because you will be arrested, won't you?
Yeah, no, they're talking fines, and they've got authorised agents coming out. So I don't even know who authorised agent is. I don't know who it'll be. We've spoken a little bit to the police. The police don't want anything to really do with this, but our group's steadfast in that we'll actually be at the gate. So what we need to do now is to make sure that we build it from 10s to 20s to 50 to 100 to 200 to 1,000 people standing inside landholders' gates and just saying a hard no. If law enforcement needs to come onto our land and fine us or lock us up, well, so be it. But this is a project that's going to be developed by a Spanish multinational company. So we're going to see they're coming to our place around about Anzac Day week. So during Anzac Day week, we're going to see a Spanish company trying to come onto Australian farms and kick them off and take their land. We've got this seriously wrong.
I think the word is vamoose. Isn't that Spanish? Something like that. But maybe a little more emotion behind that too. I would imagine your aim is to hang out until the state election. What's the opposition they're not very good, the other side at the moment. They're a bit weak. Sometimes I look at their policies, and they're almost a mirror in some ways of Labor's policies. What's their attitude to your predicament?
Yeah, we've had a lot to do with them, with more the coalition on that side. I agree. I never really thought that there was a uni party out there, but there is exactly is. And on this sort of side of us, they haven't been able to give us answers. So we're actually banning any politician here that can't come on to our place and say we get rid of VNI West for you, and we start getting rid of net zero for you, and we start getting an energy policy that's good for the future. And I simply can't see it coming out of anyone at the moment. One Nation's got a bit of talk there, and Jared Rennick's People First Party has been in touch with us as well. But and they'll be most welcome if they can say that we'll get rid of net zero. We don't have to do it the way it is, and we have alternatives out there. There's been alternatives put forward by Professors Mountain and Bartlett of Plan B, which is down existing infrastructure and easements, do a little bit of an upgrade, and the whole energy policy can certainly start getting Australia cheap, reliable power. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, they're talking 40%. I think banks are putting at it. So 40% of where the line goes through, which is quite significant. But then the productivity decreases you get. They own the easement. We're hearing more and more that there's chances that, big machinery, and the machinery is only getting bigger out there, and technology is only getting better with drones and light aircrafts and autonomous vehicles and all that sort of stuff. So apart from the fire risk out there, apart from the fact that this is going to cost billions and billions of dollars, and we're talking VNI West, it's gone from a $3.4 billion project to an $11.7 billion project without even being started. They can't really afford to do this as well. So, it's going to have a huge impact. And not only that, is that the res zones that they're putting out here, and our area was really strong against this, and they got us to map computers and put in submissions of where they are. Our area come out really hard against that, and nearly blanketed by 80% or something. They still put us in the red, so they don't even listen to anything we have to say at all. So we've got our backs up. We're prepared to fight, and it's for everyone out there, because the support we're getting out there is massive, and we'll keep fighting. We know we have to, and Australians at a breaking point. So when you get to breaking point, you actually got to stand up and fight, and we're certainly happy to lead that people into that, and we'll certainly be at the gateway and making sure that we're known that this isn't a project for our area.
And to top it all off, besides government coming in and stealing your land, to top it all off, you may not have any fuel. What's the? I mean, heaven help if there's a fire. Oops, we can't put that one out. But what about just for example, you? How does it impact you?
We're waiting for a fuel delivery at the moment, Mike. So our suppliers said that he'll get here at some stage. So filled everything up today. The tanks are empty, but we're still waiting, and I can't see him come in the gate yet. But we're actually not really big croppers ourselves. We're more sheep farmers, but it really has to be questioned of how government actually do protect Australia's food security out there now. So this is critical. This is coming into the 2 weeks when certainly most of the winter cereals and oil seeds and pulses are going to be planted. So if they don't get in on time, it does seriously affect yield out there, and we'll be in a fair bit of trouble if this goes on for a lot longer.
I'm just wondering if your neighbours have decided to hijack the truck. I mean, your neighbours wouldn't do that to you, would they?
No, I don't think so. But I did hear, and it's probably been on mainstream telly, of some people going down to the fuel station and trying to fill wheelie bins up of fuel. So it's
safe, isn't it?
It's getting sort of desperate sort of stuff out there, and we'll just we'll hold out for as long as we can, and that's all you can really do. It's a lot of it's out of our control, so we'll just keep putting the order in. I know our fuel supplier said his blood pressure is pretty high at the moment, so you got to feel for those sort of people who are sort of working on getting farmers enough fuel to get going, get moving, and work their way through it. Hopefully there's some sense come out of here, but knowing our governments and hearing that they're probably prioritising their own electorates and not sending it out to us is something that we'd quite expect, the way we've been treated over the last 3 years by these current governments that really have no no idea of where their food comes from, and how sustainable we are and how good we are at producing it. So we'll certainly it'd be an interesting month coming up anyway, Mike.
That's to say the least. If somebody wants to get on the bandwagon and also pitch in and help you guys against the Victorian government stealing your land, how do they do that?
Yeah, Google Farmers Fight Back. Jump on there. You can sign up. Sign a petition. There's a donor page as well. There's a few people quite looking at it on a legal sort of perspective as well, to seeing if it is actually legal to do what they do. It's certainly not morally right. We could all understand that legally whether it is right. This Victorian government's out of control. The wastage is there. $15, $30 billion to CFMEU. The Commonwealth Games going over to Glasgow, that's about to start, with another 300 million there, and then we hear that there's another 50 million being out there for court cases in COVID and all that sort of stuff. So these people waste a lot of money. This is another money wasting exercise, but it's going on sort of communism that they can try and dictate and take land. So it's a very scary place for everyone to know that the governments can go down this, and that's why we'll certainly be fighting back, and we won't back down at all. There'll be no backing down. We're at war with the government, and they know it, and we will not stop.
I think a good fight here, and I think we all need to understand that the government, otherwise we become like this communist nation, don't we? We've got to be, it's your property. You paid for it. You worked the soil. You know exactly what is required. You don't need government coming in. No matter whether they're Liberal or Labor or whatever, Martian. Actually, they may be Martian.
It's our grandparents and our great-grandparents who did the sweat and the toil out there. It's only on our watch is why we're doing it, but certainly won't happen. And then our kids' future as well. So this has really got to stop. This has got to stop this harassment of farmers out there and the real land grab that they want to do. You hear a lot of conspiracy theories, but a lot of them are coming true in that sort of way. And what they're trying to do to us is certainly something that won't end well for Australia. You'll find that a lot of people will go hungry, naked and cold, and not have the ability to defend themselves or their country, and that's a really scary place to be. So keep pushing those lines, and that's what our government's going to take us. So every voter out there needs to make sure that they're well informed of what's happening here in Australia, and make sure they make right decisions at the next elections, wherever that may be.
Ben Duxon, a pleasure. We must and keep talking about this. By the way, who do you follow in the footy?
The Tigers, the Richmond Tigers. So we're on tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
You'll forget your woes of the world until you watch Richmond play. Who are you playing, by the way?
Carlton. It's normally the opening round, but they've already gone a week early. So next Thursday night, Richmond Carlton. We did beat them last year, which was good. So I know quite a few Carlton supporters that were pretty disgusted and walked out when the Tigers got on top. So the Tigers.
Tigers and Carlton. I think I'll go for Tigers.
Who do you break for, Mike?
St Kilda, but we won't go. We just paid $10 billion for a team and still got beaten. But
I know a lot of loyal, passionate St Kilda supporters. They do not move away from being so passionate about St Kilda. So
we're a very sad lot. We're very sad though. We're always miserable.
I wish you well.
Our favourite saying is, "Can't wait till next season." Take care, mate. Thank you, Ben. Great chatting. This is the Country Telegraph. And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company on this sort of like midday here, or 10 to 1 here, 10 to 1 in Victoria and New South Wales. Now, Trevor Holt is a publisher of a new publication called The Australian Advocate, and we're here to talk about that today. As an entrepreneur, Trevor is involved in several business ventures, ranging through farming and agriculture, counselling and mental health, empowerment and advocacy services. Now, Trevor uses his diverse business experience to empower, inspire, motivate and create good, positive outcomes to those around him. His focus is on assisting others to create positive outcomes in their life and live the best version of themselves. Trevor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me.
A long time no see. I want to ask you about those pesky ants. We'll kick this about your publication. Tell us about it. Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, so basically, as you know, the pesky ant campaign's been going on for about 15 months now, and we've been in our own sort of battle with government departments over that. And just talking to the communities around me and people and people around the area in southeast Queensland mainly, there's a lot of issues that people are facing in regards to different government decisions. So what we did is we set up Australian advocacy group where like-minded people joined a membership where we could advocate for a lot of these community issues. And obviously we're calling it social advocacy, where we're trying to create better outcomes for the communities. We've got different groups in like hay farmers groups and heavy vehicle transport groups and that sort of stuff throughout. But the main thing was, I suppose, is the mainstream media weren't really portraying a lot of these issues seriously as what the community felt they were impacted by. So by creating an independent publication, I felt could validate some people, because people just want to be heard, and that's what I was hearing from people, is they want the issues to be out there and they want to be talked about, these issues. So by creating a publication that's funded by Australian advocacy members to talk about the subjects and the issues that are important to them, help raise not only their voice but also created positive outcomes in the fact that they have a sense that they're being heard and that their story can be told. So I hired, I've got a independent journalist, Rob Mallett. He was a journalist of the year in 2024. He used to work for the Ipswich Tribune here locally, and he's been helping with some independent journalist stories, investigative journalist stories, and we're getting some other members. Dr. Don Want has been providing some articles, and other professionals have been providing some articles on different issues that we can use to create content in the monthly publication. And so far we've done 4. Started in December, January, February, and we just released the March version now. So I feel it's getting a little bit of momentum through now and helping being able to, because you can just share an article or share a page to a politician in an email or something like that on the specific issue that you want to talk about, and sometimes these written articles is a lot easier for people to communicate with people of power, obviously. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
And I see Malcolm Roberts, Senator Malcolm Roberts, is called from the desk of Malcolm Roberts. He's one of your contributors. Will this be a regular segment?
Yeah, well, Malcolm Roberts has been a very big supporter. He's contributed and participated in a lot of community meetings with us, not just my group, but also other groups throughout the southeast Queensland. He actually, him and a lot of One Nation supporters have attended a few of my mentions at court. I was arrested for obstructing police on a raid on my farming endeavour, probably similar to what's probably going to happen to your sheep farmer there when he tries to obstruct them. So obviously, I align very much with Malcolm Roberts when he says that fundamental human rights, private property rights, and individual choice are important, and they're the issues, and that's what I'm basing mine on. So I mightn't agree with everything you agree with, Mike, but I value them values, and your choice is your choice, and my choice is my choice, and we don't have to agree on everything, but if we can just agree on respecting each other's fundamental human rights, private property rights, and individual choice, then I feel as a society we can create better outcomes. And they're calling it cohesion, aren't they, within society? So we don't have to fight about our differences. We can just celebrate what unites us.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. One of your articles, it's about recent gun law changes in Australia. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. There's been a few obviously developments on that, obviously arising from the tragic events of Bondi. Firstly, no one in Australia wants any gun violence. Obviously, this is common sense. So gun violence is not wanted here at all. But the thing, I suppose, what I'm finding and what I'm hearing from people is it's almost like a tool that the government are using to silence critics of the government. Because if you speak against the government on a lot of these issues, including that the transition lines you're just talking about, there's a fit and proper person test, but it's not really defined. So there's no actual definition of what a fit and proper person is. And the interesting thing about this is the people that are making the decision about what a fit and proper person is when it comes to gun licensing haven't passed the fit and proper test themselves. They're just bureaucrats that generally are lifetime politicians. So it's quite interesting, I find, that when I talk to people, especially farmers with firearms licenses that use it as part of their property management, so they need it as a tool that they need to do it, are very fearful of speaking out on issues, for example, like the transition lines or like the fire ant campaign or other issues that we're all facing, in fear of losing their gun license, because a lot of people really do value the ability to be able to shoot feral pests and manage their property, but also as a lifestyle recreational endeavour for their children, to teach them to hunt and that too. So a lot of these people that are passionate about shooting aren't speaking out based on the fear of, if they do, the government can take their licence and their lifestyle off them. So I find that very concerning in itself, because a free democratic nation should have the ability to criticise government decisions without fear of repercussions. You know what I mean? So I feel the way that these gun laws have been amended, or the way that they've been used, is more as a control mechanism on criticism of the government, rather than actually legitimately trying to keep Australians safe. Because fit and proper people, that's what we want. But I feel that needs to be defined. Like, just because you want to protect your property from transition lines and some Spanish corporation putting an easement through there and towers on it, doesn't mean you're not fit and proper person. It just means you disagree with that specific policy on your own private property. But they could frame that as saying, "Oh, you're anti-government, or you're a conspiracy theorist, or whatever," and you've got no reprise. There's no judicial procedure for that. So it is quite concerning, a lot of these issues.
Can you tell me, if somebody wants to find out and be part of what you're doing, how they do that? And because you're online, so do you have a new issue coming out, or do you just add new issues as you move along?
Yeah, so every month we're trying to get it in by the second week of every month. We're trying to do a new publication, and that's what we were going to release it on the first Friday of each month, but then over the Christmas period we thought that it's probably best to do it in the middle of the month. So we're doing monthly publications. We're obviously looking for people to advertise. There's advertising opportunities in that publication, which will help create the sustainability of the publication. So obviously looking for that, but also members of Australian Advocacy Group. It's sort of $50 a year to become a member of the group, and we can network up with all these other groups. So that helps fund it as well. The website's AAG for Australian Advocacy Group, aagpilot.com, and that's where you can find more information. You can reach out for me there, and if you want to support the publication or other endeavours, we've got other endeavours like organic certification programs and other things that help create communities around Australia. It is Australia, right? I know a lot of my work at the moment is in southeast Queensland, but we have done a lot of work on some of the fishery problems over in WA and a lot of other problems throughout other parts of Australia as well. So feel free to reach out and assist it if you want.
I was going to say you're so busy, you're like a guy with ants in your pants, but we can't talk about that.
Yeah, can't talk about the ants. Yeah.
Keep that for another day because it truly is a. I'll keep my mouth zipped here, but it's not good. Trevor Hold, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll do this more regularly. We'll get back to you on your publication because we'd like to help in some way if we can help make you a success. So
thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you for your time. Always appreciate it. This is the Country Telegraph. Coming up next, we'll talk about some magnificent things called cheese. And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Russell and Sue Parsons. I love the story. I love cheese, you see. Are the proprietors of Little Creek Cheese, a family business on the Australian Central Coast. This area is very lucky to have its own local award-winning handmade gourmet cheese factory located in the beautiful heritage-listed Wyong Milk Factory. Now, during the 15 years of operation, the team has won more than 320 Dairy Industry Association of Australia awards. And Little Creek Cheese just collected a gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze awards at the Sydney Royal Cheese and Dairy Produce Show of 2026. First of all, Russell, thanks for joining us.
How are you?
Good. I mean, am I talking to the old cheese?
I don't know, the big cheese, the little big cheese.
Tell me about your cheeses. I mean, first of all, congratulations. I mean, do they when you walk into an event like this, do the others go, oh, here he is again? He's smelling mouldy. Maybe that's the blue cheese. I don't know.
We have had some samples go missing. Not at the Sydney Royal, but certainly in Tasmania and Victoria as well. That was interesting. But other than that, it's all. I mean, it's in everybody's interest to run a fair competition, so they try and run as fair as they can.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, and truly, I mean, cheeses. I mean, we've seen fads. We see really nice, nice food that comes and goes with the fads. Cheese has always been one of the. It's never lost its appeal, has it? And
No.
with a good glass of wine or a scotch, or both, and have some variety of cheeses. I mean, it's a nice way to while away the afternoon or evening.
Indeed. I mean, we quite often have a cheese platter for a dinner. Not always only ours, sometimes others. I mean, we've got to keep testing everybody else's cheese to see that we're still in the market. And yeah, that's a good thing about the competitions. It does. You start off in a level playing field, and it gives you a chance to compare to other manufacturers.
Tell me, how did you get into this?
It was a hobby. We were doing it as a hobby. Every second weekend, we lost every minute of the weekend making cheese, and then we invited my parents, my wife's parents, around to have a bit of a sample.
What's the support like from government towards your industry? Are they behind you, or do you find there are some regulations that just make it a bit more difficult?
Everybody has a regulation they don't like. Same as we get tested every year or two to make sure we're still keeping hygiene, we're keeping clean premises, we've got all the processes in place. And that's annoying to have somebody come in. Nobody likes the police coming in and checking out your work. But it's understandable, it's needed. So we don't have that much of a problem with it, actually. But certainly the government, I mean, the government can't help everybody all at once, but they don't put stumbling blocks in front of us.
They could perhaps fix up your internet.
Yeah,
You
I
could
didn't
bribe
think I had a problem with the internet actually until just then.
them. Yeah, what you need is a glass of red and some cheese. Do you know anyone with some?
Well, we do have a tavern on site, so yeah.
Oh, that's great. So, of course, you being a teetotaler, maybe not. Tell me about the hours you put in, because all businesses require long hours, and it's just you and your wife that are doing this. I mean, she's obviously the boss. Sue's the boss, I would imagine, and as a good husband, you do as you're told. But what about the hours? Are they long, or they? How do you feel about it?
The hours have stabilised now, so we're here from around about 8:30, 9 o'clock, through to around about 5:30, 6 o'clock, 7 days a week.
Mm.
There are a few days when we got to do extra work, but yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Every now and again, we actually get a day off where I go into the backyard and I look at the mounds of green. And I go, that used to be a garden, and I spend a day trying to work out where the garden is.
Good on you. But yeah, and then but you do as you're told. And when they say smile, say cheese, you would say with pleasure.
In,
Just tell me, if somebody was thinking about getting into, I mean, truly, I think your business is a wonderful, wonderful business. But I think the whole industry, when it comes to dairy, it's stood the test of time. They've had, milk's bad for you, cream's bad for you, butter's bad for you, cheese is bad for you. Still here, still magnificent, and none of us are falling off the perch eating a good lump of cheese. But what's your secret of, and you'll tell me, so therefore it won't be a secret. But what's your if somebody wants to do something like what you do, what you and your wife do, what's your advice? Because they're going to get shocked, aren't they? The glamour certainly leaves soon after.
Certainly. The very first thing I would always say is be careful for what you wish. Yeah, if I was to do it again, I probably wouldn't pick cheese as the option. I wouldn't have chilled product. That's our biggest stumbling block, is trying to deliver chilled product. But as to advice, it's just create your menu, create your recipes, and stick with it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Start something else. Yeah, I mean, something like, what's your advice to a new person in the industry? Well, you'd have to sit down and have a few beers and yeah, because every cheesemaker or every dairy person has some nightmares to tell you, but it depends on whether you focus on the nightmares or whether you focus on the goods, on the pleasure you get out of it. That's the main thing. So yeah, just talk to people. Yeah, as I said, we were doing this as a hobby for 2 years. And we thought we were doing pretty good, losing a whole weekend to making cheese, until we started losing a whole week to making cheese. But it's no different. If you want to be a truck driver and you speak to a truck driver, they'll say the same thing. It looks great. The brochure is really nice, but it's the back end of it that is a lot of work. They're all going to say exactly the same thing. Certainly, be careful for what you wish, but do some research and jump in and do it.
Okay, and what's your favourite? Actually, first of all, what's Sue's favourite cheese?
Well, she likes the garlic cheddar. I like the cumin seed cheddar. I mean, we have halloumi quite often because that's one of our award winners. We'll have halloumi for a dinner every couple of weeks. Yeah, it's pretty hard to pick your favourite child, though. Really, I mean, everyone's got one, but you're not allowed to say it.
Hey, if somebody wanted to get hold of your cheese, now we're on the Gold Coast, and you're in Wyong. That's a fair walk. Do you deliver to outside stores or other outlets?
I'm trying to get some form of chilled transport, but yeah, I've spent the last 3 months asking for prices, and the prices come back. It's going to cost us this much to pick it up, and then it's going to cost us this much to deliver it. So I can't get a straight answer as to how much it's going to cost. So at the moment, it's only on the Central Coast of New South Wales. There's one store in Sydney that supports us, and we drive that down about every 6 weeks to them. Just simply can't get the stock out to a distributor. That's our biggest stumbling block. We're only small as well. We're only producing 50 to 100 kilos of cheese a week. So it just, we're too small to worry about big transport plans, and we want to get bigger, but it's an incremental jump. It's not just a small step.
Yeah, I think the idea is to enjoy what you do, and don't push yourself too much. Otherwise, you'll have no time to have your cheese and a couple of beers or a good wine or three. So
Indeed.
Just some advice: take it easy, enjoy life. There you are. But I've got to try your cheese one day. I've got to work out how to do it. On my next road trip, I might just swing by and we could tell some lies and have some good wine and some cheese. Absolutely fantastic. Little Creek Cheese. Now, if somebody wants to find out more about your cheese, how do they do that?
Well, our website, which is littlecreekcheese.com.au, or our Facebook. We do a little bit of Instagram. I don't know.
That's about
Come
it.
and try it.
And that's good enough too. I looked at it before. It's a very nice website. Facebook looks great. Thank you very much for your time. Russell and Sue Parsons, this is one half, the lesser half, because the wife's always the boss. We know
That's
our
it.
place in life. We know our place in life. Russell Parsons from Little Creek Cheese, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's about it, folks, for our show today. Thank you very much for being part of it. To our guests, thank them very much indeed, because we did have a slight delay, but it all went well. Being on the land it's very tough, especially now with the threat of diesel not being available. It's also very tough when you have governments, for whatever reason, and trying to save the planet but destroying the planet at the same time. So we need to understand that. And people in the city don't understand that the land is an entirely different beast and things operate differently. And one thing it does operate on is just pure, or not pure, but honesty, and roll up the sleeves, do some hard work. That's what it's all about. Thank you again. This has been the Country Telegraph. We'll catch you again tomorrow at midday right here.